Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Words of Heart. In today's episode, we have the privilege of speaking with Wendy Bjork. I may have mispronounced your last name. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here and share this time with you.
Awesome. So, Wendy, if you could tell my audience a bit about yourself, that would be great.
Well, I guess my story is I've been dealing with multiple sclerosis since I was 16 or 17, and it would just get triggered by a simple hot bath and just leave these weird feelings in my legs like they were spaghetti, sort of, just tingling and numbness. And none of the doctors, I just would go to the doctor for sports physicals because I was healthy otherwise, and the doctor wouldn't think much of it. He would say I was still growing or have some other reasoning for it. And you don't question the doctor. You just, I guess, keep going. At that age, you're invincible. So nothing possibly could be wrong with you. And I guess it wasn't until like 5 years later, I was already done with college and was at my first real full-time job that I had a really bad attack, I guess, or relapse, whatever you want to call it, where I was on the phone. I was working in a busy insurance office, and I was on the phone, and all of a sudden I couldn't get my words out. I didn't know if I was having a stroke or what was happening. So that finally had my parents taking me to see a neurologist. And that neurologist had me do an MRI, which, this is the early 90s, so that's pretty new technology. And that still was inconclusive. I think I saw 4 or 5 more neurologists before they finally diagnosed it as multiple sclerosis. So it was a lot of years of wondering what was wrong with me without admitting anything was wrong. You're kind of on that fence.
Wow. So considering they did find a solution, and it was the early 90s, and technology or any diagnosis was really difficult to determine. How did that affect you growing up? Well, you said it happened during your college age, correct? I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I've been having weird things happen, and I've had migraine since I was 13. So I don't know if that was all related or if that was just separate. It's hard to know. But I guess anytime when you're that age, that's something like with your health pops up, you just still think you're invincible and you don't think anything's really wrong with you, especially anything serious.
Right. Um, since you're an adult now, obviously, how has that affected you still, since you know the psychological reasoning for your condition?
I think, well, I'm 51 now, so it's been, a long time that I've been dealing with this. And I think because in that first job I had, my boss was really into personal development, and maybe he did it more so to help me. I don't know. But he would send me to seminars like with Stephen Covey or Brian Tracy or, people that would pop up. He would just send me to it. And he would just say he wanted me to come back and teach the rest of the employees what I learned. But, I'm 22, they're in their 40s. They're not listening to me anyway. But I think that helped. And then the other fact was my grandma had bad rheumatoid arthritis and just sat in a chair all day. And all I would think was, that can't be me because I'm young. I can't just give up. And I think psychologically, that's what really kept me going, having a positive mindset and a strong faith in God and just wanting to keep going. My grandma died when I was 13, and I just felt like I needed to do it for her, just to keep moving and not give up.
Right. And I truly admire you for not giving up. I mean, I had many deficiencies growing up, just to give you some further insight into me. And I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, ADHD. I couldn't hear or talk for the first 2 years of my life. So there's that. They didn't have a medical related label for that quite yet. So it was considered to be 2 years delayed. So as far as trying to persevere through any health condition or diagnosis, I completely understand that. And then a year ago, at the start of the pandemic, I got diagnosed with diabetes. So another health chapter twist in regards to that. So I completely understand persevering through your health conditions. And you had your faith to rely on, which I also have my faith as well that I rely on, which was a key component to me thriving in spite of my obstacles. So obviously you're a grown adult and you've grown accustomed to this. I don't know how to say it. What was
Psychological.
Okay, psychological condition. What steps have you, I mean, obviously we have our faith to rely on, but what advice or steps would you think helped you in trying to handle it, or continue to handle it during um, this time, or this hectic time known as the pandemic?
Well, and I think even before the pandemic, I was still just trying to live my life and basically ignore the MS because I didn't want it to take over. But because I was doing that and not, I think, acknowledging it and acknowledging that I had to deal with it, I was to the point where I could barely walk and I was exhausted all the time. And I was still working full time at my job. And by then I had 2 little boys, and my neurologist said, you need to change something or you're going to end up in a wheelchair. And that really brought me to attention of I need to start looking at what I can do differently in my life. So, things online weren't, they were available, but not like they are now, not since the pandemic where everybody's online. But I even checked out books in the library just to figure out what causes inflammation in our body. It's not just foods that we eat, but it's anything that we eat, or drink or put on our body, like personal care products or what we're using to clean our house or with our laundry. And it's just so many different aspects to healing, I found out, and you just don't get that time during a doctor's appointment to talk about all of it. So I think really in the last couple of years, I realized how many gaps in care there are, for anybody dealing with a chronic illness. There isn't a time, and the doctors admit it, there isn't time to talk about your relationships, if you're getting help at home or if you have friends to talk to about this. Because having a support circle, that's really important in getting through your day. If nobody wants to talk about what you have going on, you're just basically suffering in silence. And now with the pandemic, look how long we were cut off from just being face to face with people. And I guess when I decided to start diving into what causes all these problems with myself, there wasn't one person to turn to that said, here's some steps you can do to make yourself feel better. And now that I figured it out, with all these different aspects, I just want to be that person to support ladies with MS that are trying to navigate this illness. Because once you have that label, you have it for life, but it doesn't have to have you. And like I said, I'm on this mission to help people because I figured it out, and I get told every day in my meditation time that it's time to share this and help other people, because there's too many people that not only getting diagnosed, but have had it for so many years that just feel stuck or just don't know what the next steps are.
Absolutely. And I truly admire you for willing to help others in similar fates and similar health conditions as well. Because, and just to give you a little bit of insight into me, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, at the time, I had no knowledge of it being on either sides of my family until 5 or 8 months later. By then, I had already grown accustomed to it and figured out a way to handle it. But I had no idea about diabetes, how it worked. The only person that had any experience with it was my best friend Xandra, who, um, well, at the time when I found out, was diabetic for 3 years. Okay, so it would be more like 4 years. She's been diabetic for 4 years or so now. It was 3 years when I ended up getting diagnosed. So she was a real rock and cheerleader as far as helping me understand this new transition in my life. And keeping in mind, this was in the middle of the unfortunate time to have a virus, because 2020 was supposed to be a rock star year for everyone, a new decade, and then bam, a virus comes. So to have to undergo any type of health change during this virus that can potentially kill you is very, very terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely terrified me even more than everybody else, because the survival rating for my health condition was a lot lower than everybody else. And I'm sure you as well. Anyone with any health condition, their chances were very, very short. But just like you were mentioning a few seconds ago, you want to help others in the same predicament, who are stuck and don't understand it and are confused, and just want to help them get through this new phase in their life a little easier. And in my case, my best friend was a huge component to helping me understand this particular phase in my life as well. And it's sort of symbiotic and ironic, because our friendship like started in the church. We grew up together, and then we just so happened to be diabetic in our 20s. So our whole friendship was really destined from the beginning. So she's been a real component to helping me be diabetic, and so far I've survived being diabetic for a whole year in the midst of a global pandemic. I got my second vaccine today, so um, just trying to keep the world spinning with positivity and help others who are going through this unfortunate time, just like you're trying to help others as well.
Yeah, that's awesome that you have her by your side. And I mean, just being on social media and seeing the people that don't have that support. I write for the National MS Society, and I was working on an article about people that don't have like a partner or family that supports them. And the editor didn't realize that it was a big problem. You know, I just have been noticing it online, but I put a survey in 4 different MS groups, and I have hundreds of responses. You know, a lot of them have lots of support, and a lot of them, their spouse or partner has left them because they can't deal with their chronic illness. You know, that's just heartbreaking. So, you know, having someone by your side, I think, to talk to, like, you know, I mean, if you don't have anybody, you're alone. And that takes so many years off your system, off your body. It's like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. You know, that's how much stress it puts on your body. So that's really a huge part of just, I think, being human is just having connections.
Absolutely. And because of the season we're in, connections are really limited. Um, so technology is a real treasure in this case, but you can't hug a computer screen. That's the sad, hard, cold truth in regards to that. So hopefully, um, this pause on the world will unpause, and we get things to the way they are supposed to be in due time.
I agree. We've probably all learned a lot of lessons, you know, a lot about ourselves and maybe some of the people in our life. So I think, just looking back over the last year, who you can rely on and who your support circle is. And maybe it's time to add some new people, just time for adding new friends. And I think, like you said, we need to, hopefully we can unpause what's been holding us back.
Absolutely. So I do have that icebreaker question for you. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to stump you. Many people enjoy this question. It's probably the only signature staple to any of my episodes, but we shall see. If you could have any superpower that's not flying or teleporting, many people pick teleporting when I say they can't pick flying, but it's the exact same thing. So I have to take that option away now. If you could have any superpower that's not flying or teleporting, what would it be?
Well, I used to say when my boys were little that I wanted arms like Mrs. Incredible, so then I could just grab them both at the same time. So, and I think even now, I mean, they're teenagers now and they're taller than me, so I think that would still be a fun superpower to have.
I love that movie. It's awesome. The power I would have, it's not exactly a power yet, but I feel like it would be one in the future, would be the power for this podcast to be heard across other galaxies that have yet to be discovered.
I like that.
Intergalactic broadcasting.
We'll have to work on that.
I feel like it's possible. We already have artificial intelligence in the works, and I'm sure Apple's going to come up with a robot any single day now.
I'm sure.
Pretty certain of that. So it's possible. Well, Wendy, we can keep talking about the future and all this infamous possibilities that behold us in the years to come, but we're at the end of this awesome conversation. Do you have any social plugins for my audience, how they can get in contact with you? Give us the inside scoop to how to get in touch with you.
Sure. My website it's Hearts, so it's HEARTS of wellness.com. And there I have my free ebooks and I upload my podcast there that I appear on, and I have a journal to download. So it's kind of just like a site to store all my projects, is what I call it. And then I also have my framework there if you're interested in applying to work with me, where I just walk with you on your journey and see where I can help you. And if you just want to talk to me on a quick call, my calendar link is wendybjork.com. So that's Wendy, WENDY, and then BJORK.com. And then that'll get you right to my calendar and we can chat. So I appreciate you having me on today, and I think we are going galactic.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for joining me today, Wendy. This was a wonderful conversation, and I had no idea of that particular MSS. I had no idea about it until you divulged it to me. So I find it's definitely going to be very impactful to my audience, just as it was impactful for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. To all my listeners, stay healthy, stay safe, and until next time. Bye.